Hey y'all, Jeremy James here, the Bourbon Realtor.
Oh, I'm back. I'm Lahannah.
I told you y'all she'd be back. We're here with Barstools and Bourbon, and we've got, oh my God, like the Brady Bunch of the special guests here today.
No. What a fucking crew we have. We've like dragged everyone in from halfway across the globe.
Do we have to bleep them out?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
This is a truly international show.
I hope I don't get bumped off this.
No, just bleeped out.
We got old cousin Jeremy from down under.
We got
That doesn't sound the most southern thing I've heard all week I've been here. Like, old cousin Jeremy from down under. Like, no.
well, folks, for those of you who don't know, this is Jeremy Pattison, aka Jez Whiskefy from where at in Australia? I don't know. It's like a prison colony down there anyway. So
Yeah, we all arrived on ships and chains, so like it's basically still the same thing.
Yeah.
Like nothing's changed.
Yeah.
It's still like same thing since what? I don't know, 1900s?
something like that. Long time back when it was all black and white photos.
Yeah.
But we actually connected a long time ago through Instagram. He does a lot of good stuff over there. Well, moderately good stuff.
Yeah, moderately.
And so we're connecting here today. We're revisiting Wilderness Trail. We started probably our second episode of Wilderness Trail and did some really terrible reviews on some Wilderness Trail. Loved it absolutely, but terrible reviews. But we figured it was proper time to come back and revisit some of our favorite bourbon.
Terrible reviews of the podcast. Not the
The reviews themselves
Just
were
wanna,
terrible.
clarify
The
that.
whiskey and the bourbon was phenomenal.
These guys.
But we've got Dr. Pat Heist, aka the lead singer of Zelame.
You're the coolest. What's your name?
I
You just
mean,
said it.
I don't know how many letters he has
Dr.
after
Pat
his name, but it's basically a whole alphabet at this point.
Just three.
Yeah, right. PhD, MD. I mean, what on the
Not
newsletter
MD.
he's posting the pictures of med school students he was teaching, and I'm like, good Lord, I hope I don't go to that school or that hospital, wherever. And then we've got Macaulay Minton, also from Wilderness Trail Distillery, one of the blenders. You do single barrel picks out there.
Barrel guru, Jeremy.
Barrel Guru.
Barrel
That's official
Guru,
title.
yeah.
That's, you need to get
I
that
like that.
tattoo. So we are here going to go through a couple different bottles. We got some sweet mash disruptor series. I think 3 of those, and a special 100 firm. Pat, I'm just going to let you kind of lead us through these tastings. We'll start with the original OG down there on the right, and just kind of go from there.
Okay, so this is the wheated bourbon. 64% corn, 24% wheat, 12% malted barley. This is actually a barrel pick that we did. It's called the sweet mash disruptors. We of course do a sweet mash process. This one is coming in at 114 proof, and we're not getting the neck pour on it, so we're down into the bottle. So let's
Let that
start
thing
her off.
open up a little bit.
People playing at
Oh,
home.
Pat, come on. Pat, that bottle's paid for. Come on, there we go. All right, that's better.
And people playing at home as well, Pat, how do you guys go about the sweet mash process? Because typically bourbon is normally a sour mash.
That's correct.
So it was the first time I'd actually seen your product, when I got the Whiskey Hunt Australia barrel pick for the, barrel proof rye.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed a sweet mash method, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah, it's actually very simple. I mean, if you know what the sour mash method is, which is when you make the mash, which is where you're adding the milled grains and the hot water, you're adding about 20% of your water is going to be left over from a previous distillation. That would be sour mash, and then sweet mash is just very simply that's where we start with 100% water in our mash. We're not adding any back set from a previous batch, so it's actually quite simple. One of the advantages that we see in doing a sweet mash is basically in looking at consistency. Back set. If you have 2 batches that come out differently in terms of fermenter 1, fermenter 2, the back set's going to be different coming off of those.
Yeah.
And so if we're trying to stay consistent, we want to keep all of our ingredients as consistent as possible, and we just feel like water is more consistent than back set.
So Jeremy, would you ask your question again so we can do it without the AT&T interruption over here? And Pat, I hope you remember what you just said. I'm sure you do.
To be honest, I don't even remember what the
Something
question
about
was.
sweet mash.
I had that lined up perfectly and everything, and I'm like, I'm gonna leave that in for my audience because appreciate the authenticity of like the phone ringing in the
All the
background.
grains, yeast, and water. That's all we need. We don't need no bag set, no nothing on there. We just kicking it off each time, preserving the integrity of that grain, yeast, and barrel profile on every whiskey that we got.
Nice on that sweet mash. Love it. Love it.
So what do you guys think about the weeder here? This is a single barrel strength, so everything in this bottle, 100% what got dumped out of the barrel. No filtration, no blending, no mingling with other barrels. So this is straight Kentucky right here.
I do like how you guys use the. I just noticed that on the back of the bottle there, non-chill filter as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't bottle anything at less than 100 proof, and again, this one's sitting at 114 proof.
Yeah.
So normally, as long as you're above like 94 plus proof, you're not going to have a problem with the haze flocking.
Pat, I remember this was the one I picked up last summer, and I was at the beach and sat out on the balcony of my hotel or condo or whatever it was, and I poured a sip of that, and for me, it was just salted caramel covered green apple.
Mm-hmm.
And
I get that.
oh my gosh, it was. I sat back and I did a whole photo series after that. Just you know how long it takes to find in off-peak season a salted caramel green apple. I mean, that is like not easy to find.
So do you feel like it's changed any?
A little bit. It's opened up a little bit more. I've got a little bit more oakiness and a little bit more complexity as far as those barrel notes, rather than that fresh kind of 4-year fruity forward note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wasn't picking up any of that like fresh, like I guess fresh green apple.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100% more like oakiness to it.
That brown sugar, and it is more like brown sugar, more not like so much sorghum or anything like that. But very nice.
Yeah.
So it was just that fresh when I first popped it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when this first came out. That was actually the first sweet mash disruptor one we did. And I can't remember how many bottles I picked up personally, but I think it was about 12. I really like that.
I just goes to a test and I can pick some good barrels that
That's
So
true.
needless to say, if you see Macaulay running around WTD in the rick houses with a drill, follow him around. Because he's going to be tapping some great barrels. Apparently there's one up there that has like 100 and different holes in it or something like that.
Well, that's not my due diligence. I'm an expert and I know how to just drill the same hole.
Drill the same hole over and over.
And you're worried about bleeping me out. Don't worry about bleeping me out.
I gotta disappear for 1 second, guys. Sorry.
Oh, wow. So,
Beautiful spot.
We ought to call this the Mash Interruption Series instead of the Mash Disruptors bottle.
yeah. Lock the door. Take the phone off the hook.
Do you know what? That's so good. I love how crazy busy you guys are. It's just like, it just makes it more authentic. It's like, yeah, we got customers rolling in. It's like, yeah, the phone's ringing. Like, whatever.
That's
You
all right.
all want to try some whiskey?
Well, it's like when I teach meditation. I mean, there's always going to be constant interruptions in your life. You just got to learn to roll with the punches and keep going with it.
Well, it also goes to show you they probably need to be open on Tuesdays here.
I would say that would probably be about
How are
right.
your bartending skills?
Apparently,
Are they great?
Lahannah doesn't work
Yeah,
enough.
actually.
Actually, Lahannah works 7 days a week.
Allegedly, but not on Tuesdays.
Right now.
Mhm.
We're opening a new restaurant. I work a lot.
So what about a little plug for your new restaurant?
Yeah, absolutely. Get it in there.
All right, next door.
Exclusive.
Exclusive.
plug.
Okay, so as you all know, we've recorded here in the past Copper and Oak, and we talk about our owners, Bo and Nicole Cacciatore. Well, now we're going on a new venture right through that wall, actually. We're opening a new Italian restaurant here in Danville, Kentucky called La Cosa Nostra. No, we are not in the mob. It actually means our thing, but it's cool. Bo and Nicole have partnered with Chris and myself, and we're about to have a new cool spot to visit next time you're in Danville.
So between the bourbon, copper, the Italian restaurant, and now the Greek restaurant, I'm going to be fat and broke forever.
Well,
Right,
I
there it
already
is.
am there, so let's
Yep.
just keep it going, Jeremy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I can't wait. When do you guys do?
It's the
This
phone.
is
We're a
already
busy
done.
restaurant. We are set to open hopefully mid-May.
Mid-May.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a big whirlwind. We completely gutted it, rebuilding right now. In fact, I start painting next week, so if you see any runs, it is what it is.
Nice.
I'm not a
Awesome.
professional painter.
Hmm.
Oh my.
We'll wait a second.
I'm not on your all's level. I love it.
Anybody else got any thoughts on the whiskey here?
I'm gonna throw that phone in the street.
Oh, well, I'm the one that keeps calling.
Yeah. I like it.
They're like, I know they're in there.
Colleen's over here going, watch this. I'm gonna screw this whole thing up.
That sounds like a Macaulay movie.
Oh my God, that's too funny. So Matt, why did you pick this 4-year for the Sweet Master Disruptor?
Everything that I pick out is going to be more eclectic than our standard lineup. I like more of those intricate fruit flavors, more complexity, sometimes those funky barrels, if you will.
Right.
I always have a little taste for the off-profile things live.
Nice. I like
Off
it.
profile is always fun as well, especially like if you're going for something like relative. And I guess like trying, because I'd only played with the single barrel pick that Whiskey Hunt did, and I was like, okay, cool, this is not the typical stuff I'm used to. It's a little bit different. I noticed like those cidery notes and that. I'm like, that's not something I'd normally see in a rye.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
See, I like that. He said cidery notes, and I was like, I like vibe with that note. I'll appreciate
So-
it.
yeah, I got a look
Tasting
from the
note.
boss over there. Like, I was like, okay, I'll take that look. He didn't slap me, so I'm like, I'm good.
So yesterday we did a tasting here actually with some of our employees. Like every few months we do a whiskey lineup just so they get to learn them a little bit more. And the second one in my lineup was the Wilderness Wheated, but of course it's just one I pulled off the shelf, so it was 100 proof.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how different this one is. You know, like that is one of my dailies. I go to it very often, but if anyone knows me, I'm more of a cast strength type of person.
Yeah,
So
right.
this right here,
Spicy.
it's a lot more
Sorry.
complex than what the 100 proof is.
Especially for a weeder.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that just segues us into our next one. So this is going to be a 6-year-old weeded barrel pick right here. So this is actually the 100th fermentation that we've ever done. So this was at our old location.
This is off the pot, right? Yeah.
Yep, off the pot.
Thank you, sir.
This is the 100th firm bottle?
This is the 100th
I
firm.
have
is.
one on my shelf. I just haven't opened it
This is
just
a fresh
because.
crack on the 100th firm.
Fresh
I like
crack.
that. All right, I'm gonna give her a minute.
Mm-hmm.
6 years too. Okay, I like that.
Well, it's like a delicate dance. Just swirl it around a little
Yeah,
bit.
okay, I got you.
Freeze
Now that's
your hair.
also single barrel strength. This is 120 proof.
Oh.
Another interesting
Yes,
thing
please.
that I always like to see on these is how many bottles came out of that
Yeah.
barrel. So these are pretty similar. This one is 206 bottles of 114 proof. This is 196 bottles of 120 proof. So that's something I like to see on a single barrel, is how many bottles come out of, how much leakage occurred, how much evaporative loss occurred. A lot of times if you have a barrel that is, has few bottles in it, that means that either it leaked or you had extensive evaporative loss, and either one of those things can cause the flavors to kind of concentrate more in the barrel. So it's always interesting to at least see, how many bottles came out of any particular barrel.
To be 120 proof, this is pretty sweet on the
This
nose.
drink's
Well,
nice.
what's more eclectic about this is this would have came out of a charred and toasted barrel as well too. This is
Okay.
charred
little bit-
and toasted.
a little bit of
Nice.
a more rare variety of cask when we were kind of get starting off.
So I'm pulling a little bit of fruit, but I tell you what, the leather and tobacco notes.
Yeah,
on
that's
this
Mm-hmm.
really nice.
Well, another interesting thing between these two is the 6-year would have been distilled on our pot still and 1 barrel batches, and this would have been distilled on our 18-inch column that would be a 12 to 13 barrel batch.
Yeah.
So that's just
That's it.
something
That's your
else.
smaller column, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
18-inch column.
Insert B-roll footage here. Gosh, that's nice.
Yeah, when you say 18-inch column, that doesn't mean it's that tall. It means
It's
18
average
inches.
length. It's
18
average.
inches in
girth.
diameter.
It's an average. It's an average length. Right?
Girth.
That's average. Who lied to you?
Average. Totally average.
He gets centimeters and inches for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Man, I step away from Barstools and Bourbon for a few months, and then it comes back. It's like,
Oh, we
R-rated.
we have stopped editing. Let's just put it
I
that
felt
way.
bad for saying the F word, and
Oh, no,
at
we
least
I'm
it's
rolling,
the
that's
number one
why-
episode.
Yeah.
We just let the shit fly now. It's
You
Oh
guys
my
got any
God.
more of this laying around? Like, this is bad.
That one is.
I had to beat
it
up
was
an
just
old lady
one
to get
barrel.
that one.
C flat didgeridoo.
Yeah, I got you. I
Naturally
got
hauled
you. Yeah,
out
all right, my man. That's how we playing.
from
Okay.
tribal
I did. I had to
Get a
beat
little
up.
Vegemite note in this.
Vegemite. Yeah, where's my Vegemite, Jeremy?
Dude, Vegemite's awful. I don't know
You
why.
were supposed to bring me some. I probably can get it on Amazon though.
It's made out of yeast, though, right?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
we had actually. Funny enough, Archie Rose made some. Was it like gin or vodka out of Vegemite? And they aged. They did something with like the Vegemite jars. So all these emptied out Vegemite jars, and they put this. I think it was gin. They put it in there. I'm gonna do some research, make sure it's right. And then they ran it back through, and then they bottled it. And it like was super funky. I was just like, I smelled it. I was like, no, thank you. I don't like Vegemite. Like some of the.
It's real salty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Worse than the whiskey out of the shoe?
No, actually, that Four Roses out of the shoe was pretty good.
Oh.
I'll insert that clip right here.
Yeah, like I've got a minute-long clip of that, so I'm happy to send that to
Slice
you.
that in.
Yeah.
So that was a Vegemite good bourbon.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Please
Oh my
stick
God.
to yeast.
We
No,
tolerate him, folks.
stand-up
We
comedy
we
is
love him,
not
but
in
we
your
tolerate him.
future.
You're more than welcome to come home with me. You know how to make some good juice, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I can teach you how distilleries a thing or two.
Are you gonna go home and veg? I might.
Oh my God.
That goes good.
Wow.
That's
It
good.
just keeps getting worse.
You know, I said I wasn't going to edit, but.
Do not chop that out. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to write a letter to someone. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Just so everybody knows, we started this party at Wilderness Trail about an hour ago.
I
You
started this
all
party at
started
Heaven
this
Hill.
party.
Lahannah was working, so she's
I
not
was
nearly as
working.
far down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, that is good.
This is good, yeah. I've done that all day.
Mm-hmm.
I've got no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
And like I said, that was back when we were making 1 barrel per batch. So that literally is the only barrel of that in existence.
That was down on 4th Street, right? In the old warehouse down there where I thought I was going to get
Sure
stabbed every time I went down.
Sure shit. That's
Yep.
exactly the
Jeremy, it's like half a mile down the road.
You can go to some
You're all
bigger
getting
cities
stabbed.
sometime.
Yeah, it wasn't really that.
It's Danville. I literally, you could walk naked through town in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and not get stabbed in Danville.
Oh, like you come up to
You couldn't
Louisville.
beg to get stabbed.
They'd be like, "You all right, fam?"
How about we call Tony and we get him down here and we take you home?
Look, I just saw Tony. He's dealing with enough problems without yours. Please stay closed.
There'll be a Facebook Live of that.
I told you we should have given him the 10 strip.
I'm babying this. This stuff's delicious, and you're like, yeah, let's pull it next time. I'm like, no. Let's stay here for a minute. I'm happy with this. Like this toasted charred
Well, we're on
barrel.
the
Like,
shot clock right now.
No, I'm going to go back and we'll restart. That's
Oh,
fine.
okay.
I just need to know.
I was like,
I just need to know.
it's like, let's pour another round. I just
Yeah.
shot these things down like, no.
I
I'm
was
like,
like,
no.
Jeremy's
We're gonna
battery
start
dies
pull-
in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
We're going to start pulling off the back bar here in a minute. And Lahannah's
We're only second base. Macaulay's already go third base.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
I heard
I mean,
he,
dinner
Dinner's
first, we can go
Macaulay,
to that.
dinner.
I heard he moves fast, Pat.
Uh-huh.
Don't have time to waste.
That's right.
Nice.
You feel those strips kicking in. You're like, let's go.
What was micro is now macro.
Oh,
I might be the only one that does not understand this joke, but do not explain it live.
what, the 10 strip? The 10
Yes.
strip? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think
What
I
are they?
understand the joke. Yeah. Yeah.
What joke?
Who's joking?
The joke would be me on it. That would be the joke. There would be a news article written. I guarantee that 100%.
Yeah,
Naked man tased by a
Yeah.
soccer
Tased.
field. Talking about choo-choo train tattoo.
Walks through 8 tasers unfazed.
My goodness.
News on TikTok. He
I don't
was, he was carrying a bottle of WTD bourbon though. That's
Barstools and Bourbon to go viral.
we
They'll be like,
100,000
we do not know
subscribers
this guy.
overnight.
No association. Suing him, actually.
Oh man, even sniffing the empty glass.
Yeah, this stuff's nuts. When are you guys going to run another batch of this?
Of the Douglas Firm, yeah.
We got
Oh,
probably
here we
some
go.
in
Here
the
we
line.
go.
So
We got
Pat, tell us
some in the
about some experimental stuff because we talked about it in one of the other episodes. You were talking about some experimental stuff, some scraped barrels and things like that you were doing
Yeah, some. I mean, there's different procedures that I know Jack Daniels when they do the Sinatra.
Yeah.
You know that it's well known. They do like a scalloping of the
Yeah.
inside of the barrel that cut grooves in it
Mm.
to increase the surface area, pull some of that char off.
Yeah.
So we've done some barrel. I mean, we don't. You know, a lot of people. You know, when are you going to do? What's the next new thing? It's like we already make 3 fucking mash recipes. I mean, that's a lot. And if you think of all the different ways that you can, you know, small batch, single barrel, barrel strength, bottle in bond, and then you look at, you know, 50 ml bottles, half pints,
Right.
pints, 750, 700 mils for, you know, Europe, 1.75 liters. I mean, you run into a shitload of SKUs.
You do 100.
Yeah.
You do 1.75
Well,
liters.
we
of
don't
WT?
yet, but when you
7.
look at, you know, that kind of stuff, in addition to age stated stuff. So if you
Yeah.
got 3 different expressions, you start getting into age stated of that, hell, you just doubled your SKUs.
Mm.
So, and then you look at all the different bottles and different things. And I mean, hell, we're probably up to 25 to
What's he
35
talking
SKUs.
You know
It's-
what's
it's different.
Excuse me.
I'm so lost. I'm like, he lost me at
Oh,
1.7. He lost me
All
at
right,
1.75.
so we got
Wait, hold
got
on a
all
second.
kinds
Hold
of
on.
different
Let
listings
me
out
say,
here
let me say
right
one
now.
thing. I think this proves that Jeremy's bourbon knowledge is skewed.
Hey.
Oh, yeah. The ultimate burn.
I
Don't
got,
cut that
I got,
one out.
I got totally wrapped up in a WTD at a 1.75. That's where you lost me. I was like, oh,
We don't do it, but we will, and that'll be another.
It's all our
SKU.
barcode.
All right. So that was 6 year. And for those of you who may be looking for 6 year product out there in Wilderness Trail, be very careful if you're looking for the wheat or the rye, because those bottles are all but twins except for about 2 letters, right? That wheat and that rye bottle, right? On 6 year.
Just about. We're about to roll out on the rye whiskey as well too. So all
gonna
of,
change it up?
all of our 6-year-old family is going to be a silver label product.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're going to have to differentiate that on the label. Is
But
what
we're
that is
but we're
right
going to be
now.
able to because right now the only difference is where it says wheat and where it says rye.
Well, actually, we've actually made more changes just even as of today.
right.
We've been kind of struggling
It's
with
exclusive.
how our family reserve would be our single barrel, like our store picks. For
Right,
example.
yep.
Like this is an example of a store pick. So because it looks so similar to our normal bottle and bond,
Right.
we're actually going to change up our what we call our family reserve, which are single barrel strength, to a silver label that's got the lettering on it would be yellow for the wheated, green for the hot, for
Okay,
the rye
okay,
whiskey,
okay.
and black. So that'll be what differentiates it. We were actually going to do a foil, kind of a more. You remember those conversations we had, Macaulay, about doing a foil label, and the damn material just didn't work out for us. So we're actually going to go to the silver label, and then what we're going to do, rather than bottle the 6 year in the silver label, is just simply put that 6 year neck tag on it, or whatever the age
Yeah.
statement
Right.
is on our normal bottle.
So use the standard colors of the
That's right.
wheat and the rye, but then do
to say what age it is, if
Yeah.
it's more
Nice.
than a 4 or 5,
Yeah.
and then all of the family reserve, which are again the single barrel strengths, are going to be in silver labels with each of the different
Nice.
colors.
So you don't have to play around with the TTB and everything
That's
else.
right. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And you want to have the most simplest way to where you can interchange your labels,
Yeah.
to where you're not having to order, 100 new labels.
Yeah, of
just
course.
for-
Right.
Of course.
So that seemed to be one way to.
because that was the thing. I mean, there for a while you had to get. I mean, well, right now it's the only way to tell the difference between the 6 year wheat and the high rye is turn it, look it on the side, and find where it either says wheat or rye.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
and my eyesight's getting like not.
Well,
as great.
and you've probably also noticed if you got, there's the wheated bourbon, there's the high rye bourbon, then all of a sudden it's like, well, hell, there's another lane that's got the yellow label
Right.
wheated in there. But that's the only way to differentiate the family reserve again, which is single barrel strength. I mean, I've always had an easy time doing it because first of
I
all,
look at the proof.
it's got the proof written
Yep.
on it because it's not bottle and bond.
Right.
Yeah.
Second of all, it does say family reserve in very small letters
Right.
here, and then secondly, it would actually have the
Yeah.
bottles wrote on the back.
And that was the first thing I always key in on because I had people ask me how can you tell if it's or not, and I'm like, look, it's all barrel proof.
Well, and also if you're going down the shelf and it says $49.99, $49.99, and then $69.99.
Yeah,
There you go. There's your single barrel.
There's another differentiator. But anyway, we were sort of getting some feedback from the industry or our distributors and stores, and they suggested that we do something a little more drastic to differentiate those, and so that's what we've done too.
Good.
So exclusive information.
Okay.
To
Inside Marketing Branding 101.
Love it.
For
Love
free
it.
for you.
That's right. And
it.
this is also the first time Macaulay's ever heard any of this, so it's
Oh, there you go.
exclusive news.
Hey,
Macaulay.
he's
We
not
haven't
the
talked
only
about
one.
it, but it's okay.
Sounds like it's going to be a meeting
That's
tomorrow in
right.
the office, let me tell you.
All right, so
That's
we've
right.
done 4-year wheat, we've done 6-year wheat on the 100th firm, which is an exclusive bottling that came out.
I love that. I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
happy if we don't do anything else. I'm like, I love that toasted, charred barrel.
But we would be
I'm like-
remiss. We're
Yeah.
only halfway through this.
We
Yeah,
got
we're
to keep
only
going
halfway
through
through,
some
yeah,
of the Disruptor series
I'll
that I
loosen the
picked
pants a
out.
little bit.
All right,
I'm-
so Mac, you've pulled these disruptor
Hold up.
series, so let's do this high
All
ride.
right, so let's get into volume 6 right here.
Volume 6.
Volume six. All right,
Or
run us through it. What are we
Number
looking at?
6. Number 1, volume 6
Okay, I
right
got you.
here.
It's like a library at this point.
So what is the Disruptor series? Because I know my Aussies playing at home have no idea what your like Sweet Mash Disruptor series is.
There was a Forbes article that proclaimed that we were the sweet mash disruptors, and so that's kind of where it came from. And so we just kind of carried that on and put it on one of the labels.
Forbes.
I
Forbes.
love that term that came from Fred Minnick and Forbes as well
Mhm.
too, and I
Yep.
just thought it stuck so well, so we needed to keep it going.
Forbes and Fred Minnick, y'all. I mean, when they're shouting your name,
No. When they're
You-
creating like names for your brand, you're like, well, thank you. I'll take
Absolutely.
that.
slap that on everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever somebody wants to go into Forbes and tell the story
Oh,
of the
yeah.
legend of myself, I'm always happy to.
Yeah.
What?
In-
I'm serious.
insert LMA
Yeah.
footage here.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm getting some apple tea
Which-
cake notes on this one.
Okay,
Apple.
what's a tea cake?
Sorry, it's like in Australia. Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys looking at me.
I
I'm
don't
like,
even. Hey, tea here either comes in sweet or unsweet.
this is what happens when you go. You invite an Australian in, and like, hopefully Nan is watching this because she'll be like, yeah, okay, I appreciate that. So apple tea cake in Australia is like essentially like a vanilla cake, but it's got like apples built through it. It's super
Mhm.
sweet.
Okay.
It's like plenty of sugar, which is good for you.
Mhm.
It's like super syrupy.
Okay.
Like generally, that was like the first thing. Brought it up to my nose. I'm like,
Buttercream,
yeah.
Kinda.
I'm like, I don't know, like what pound cake is.
pastry. I get
Yeah, it's
really
like
a nice
pastry.
pastry
Yeah.
on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this shit. And like I
This
use a
shit.
term, and it's like, so I'm like, you guys are gonna have to do so much back end editing. And when I
No,
film it out,
just let it
Yeah,
roll,
we
baby.
let it
and I'm
roll.
like, when I film all my stuff, I'm like, oh, just like drop the word fuck in there. I just apologize to Nan and Pop because I know my pop's
Hey, it
gonna-
earns us the PG-13 rating. That's fine.
Forget
It's
somebody.
not for kids.
Exactly,
We're good.
exactly.
We're drinking a 21 and over beverage.
That's right.
Exactly.
This is
Disney
not-
Plus has
this-
Daredevil on it
These
now, so, I
podcasts
mean,
are
we're
for
good.
6-year-olds.
That's mad.
Well,
Unless they turn 21, then they can watch.
And
yeah,
that's
if you're
like-
under 21, turn this shit off right now.
Oh no
And tell your mom.
No, 18. Come on.
Or
You go
18 in
18 in Australia.
18 in
Sorry,
Australia.
yeah,
Come
yeah.
on. Like,
Which is like 32 everywhere else. So.
you just burned 3 years off my audience. I'm like, like guys, you can still continue to watch. It's fine. Like I've got an age rating on mine. It's like 18 plus. Like you guys are fine.
We don't even put an age rating. We're from Kentucky. This stuff is in your water. I mean,
Yeah, like, that's-
we have 3 taps: hot, cold, and bourbon. I mean, that's.
No, fuck yeah, I'll cheers to that. Like that's been me all weekend. So,
And if we were
Thank
drinking
you.
these in Australia, these would be overproof.
oh
Right?
yeah,
Overproof.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
yeah.
So what's-
OPUP.
Oh,
So
that's
what-
Bundaberg.
Tax money.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's Bundaberg. I was gonna bring over some Bundaberg, and I was like, do you know what? I don't think anyone would appreciate, but I really should have brought some.
Yeah.
Would have been an experience.
We were working with an Australian producer that was trying to recreate Bundaberg.
Oh Jesus.
And I was like, why?
Yeah, why exactly? Why?
One
Like
word.
I'm
Why?
Australian. I'm like, you don't try and recreate Bundaberg. I'm like, it's cheap as shit.
and have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, like you can give it to me and I'll drink it away. That's fine. I'm happy to burn your money for you.
There's something else that I can't.
No,
That's nice.
I remember picking this barrel. So part of the Sweet Mash Disruptor series is highlighting some of like the outsides of our flavor wheelhouse. This has a little bit more of that that rye cherry funk to it with a little bit of that vanilla cream back end on it right there.
That is.
I'm getting more tea cake.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, more tea cake.
Yeah, see, you
Tea cake, of course.
I don't know if you're taking the piss out of me, but fuck you guys.
Maybe do they have a cherry tea cake?
Tea cake.
Or is apple the only tea cake?
Apple's it really the other tea cake.
Fuck.
It's the
Really
only
superior
tea
tea cake.
The
really.
superior tea cake.
Yeah, we're gonna
Actually, it's something that's been bugging me, and like I keep seeing it on all your bottles. What is your Firm Pro 1?
That is one of the yeast strains. It's actually the first yeast strain that we started with. So a lot of people, when they look at our barrel picks, they're like, well, damn, did you guys ever use any other yeast besides FP1?
That's what I'm keep saying.
Well, that's what we used exclusively for the first couple of years.
Yeah, okay.
So any of the older barrel picks would most likely have been made with our FP. And FP stands for Firm Pro. That's our trade name for our yeast.
Yeah, well, because it's the parent company.
Mm-hmm.
So
how many yeast strains do you have in your library now?
We've got about 10,000 yeast isolates. We only know what about a couple thousand of those are in terms of, we know they're all yeast, but we've only identified maybe a couple thousand of those to species level.
You're more than welcome to scrape the 4 roses out of the bottom of my shoe.
Yeah. Well,
he probably has some of that in the freezer
I'll tell you
somewhere.
what's hilarious. We get people coming into the distillery all the time that are on the Bourbon Trail.
Right.
And they come into the lab and they're like, hey, man, they give us a napkin that's got mash on it. They're like, I was just at Distillery X, and here's the yeast strain.
and Pat's like,
and literally,
I'm covered by NDA, but it's okay.
Yeah, we got it.
Scrape the swipe. Scrape the swipe.
That's
funny.
right. Yeah,
That's
inviting me
awesome.
into your distillery is like inviting a vampire into your home. If you're trying to, protect your yeast strains. That's why I've got this little yeast grabber here. Let me smell down into the fermenter. Oh, goodness, I got a little bit on my beard. Hold on, let me go to the car, cut a little bit off, put on a plate. 2 days later, I got isolated colonies.
He's got a little petri dish.
You know what's funny? I can actually imagine you doing that.
Well, it's not funny if it's not true.
I'll tell you what, he was in here one time and one of our taps is acting funky, and out of nowhere he was like, give me some of this. I'm taking it in a to-go cup, taped it up. He's like, I'm sending it straight to the lab, like mad scientist level.
And we brought a report in.
And then he had a report,
Was it bad as the last beer report we did in downtown Danville, though?
Different location, full disclosure, not copyright.
Wrong question. We'll edit that one out.
Lahannah has the cleanest taps in all of
the
Danville.
commercial break.
Stop.
The egg was something
Brought to you by
strange with
Vegemite.
that. That's all that was.
Well,
We
just
used to
because
mix
it's a
meats.
strange brew doesn't mean it's like, it wasn't like spoiled.
Yeah,
or
I want to
anything.
say it was
just
like
had
a cider, and a lot of them come out weird, like all the sediment gets to the bottom, and it was something like that.
Just shake the cake, you'll be right.
Yeah, you're just gonna
Shake it up, shake it up.
What
I
happened
just
was
learned
she ain't cleaned the
apparently.
lines.
Yeah,
That's not true. They come out regularly.
Not a copper though. Not a copper.
Apparently, you are to
Someone
store
lines up
like
for beans,
some
you'll be
ciders upside down so that it doesn't all go to the bottom. I don't know if you read the label, you learned.
Oh,
that.
I remember that.
When the
I remember
guava
that
one, when it came
my
out,
wife actually got
and
a
it was
serving
not
at that other
translucent. It was
restaurant.
like opaque in the glass. Do you remember that?
Yep,
And she loved it.
I remembered it. She absolutely loved it. She goes, "Oh my gosh, it's so fruity and everything else."
Yeah,
I'm like,
all the
"That's supposed to be
guava
like a
was in that
cider."
glass.
Well, if you drink a beer and it's
Damn.
0% ABV, that means fermentation never occurred. So whatever you started with, plus whatever bacteria were in there, and you get organic acids and other things, which in some cases, back in the old days, if you were making beer and you had a bad batch, you'd throw it out. These days, if you have a bad batch, you double the price and call it a sour beer. So,
Hey, do you know what?
That
I
was
love
funny.
a sour beer though.
That was
That's a
funny.
lesson.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a lesson right
Yep.
there, man.
That's right.
People auditing this video right now.
Yeah. Just like back in the old days, if a tornado blew your barrel house in half, you'd call the insurance company and get it fixed. Nowadays, if it blows the
put a new
siding
label,
on,
put a new label on it.
you relabel it and charge $400
That is
So-
some shade.
I don't know any distillery company that would have ever
That's Wilderness Trace,
so-
baby.
so underhanded to do something like that.
Shit.
Fire, flood, toilet backup, whatever.
Disassociating myself from this group.
Well, I mean, Doc, you tell them about I think we've actually found a good person to do the casket strength project now. He's honestly got to.
Did you say casket?
Casket.
We've been on the.
This guy's actually sent me some prototypes information, so he's got some stuff working in the woods.
Yeah,
for us.
so one of our dreams of Wilderness Trail is to create the first casket strength bourbon. And so we need to find charred oak caskets to put the whiskey in. So we've had a hard time finding somebody to build them. I had one guy who was going to do it, and then he called me up and he said,
New charred, right?
It's got to be seasoned oak. Like normally you're not going to make a casket out of oak because it's too damn heavy.
Right.
So that's the first quandary that I get when I ask somebody to make one. The second thing is they call up and say, "Hey, what kind of liner do you want in here?" It's like, man, you didn't even miss. You missed
it completely, right?
Yeah. I'm looking for seasoned oak, made into caskets that are charred on the inside. You age the bourbon in it. I mean, there's no rule. I mean, bourbon's got to go to a new charred oak vessel. Doesn't have to be a barrel. So this is something that we've talked about on a couple. This is not an exclusive, unfortunately. But anyhow, the goal there was to release a bourbon and call it casket strength instead of cask strength.
Yeah, okay.
Be the official bourbon of Halloween, the official bourbon of Heavy Metal.
I swear to goodness, if I don't see that in October, I'm going to be pissed.
Exactly.
If I don't have a case arrive at my house by October, I'm going to be fucking
I want a whole
pissed.
casket at my
All right,
house.
Well, here's the thing. We've got just as many people signed up to be buried in the caskets
Oh
as
my
we
God,
have that want.
You could resell them.
Hell yeah.
So you do casket finished. Oh my Jesus!
Oh
you do
my
casket
God.
finished bourbons, then resell the caskets. People would be buried in these things.
Well, how
all day
about
long.
a human finished in a
Oh,
casket?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes! The taters are
Burn
gonna
it.
lose their
Yeah.
minds.
It's
It
simple.
sounds so wrong.
I want to be casket
It sounds
finished.
so wrong, but it's right.
And then I want a Viking funeral
Well, yeah,
pyre
cremate-
in my bourbon casket.
Yeah, cremate me and dump me in the Amazon and the Mississippi River, please.
I don't think they meet. Do they?
I was like, did you just say in the Amazon in the Mississippi?
But different dumping
Oh,
points.
different
I mean,
dumping points.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
you don't have to-
No.
We're
He
going
means
too
the
much.
Amazon warehouse next to the Mississippi River, obviously.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Different
Makes
dumping
sense,
points.
makes sense.
We're gonna
Oh my God!
liven it up a little bit.
So
As
anyway,
close as the Amazon as you're going to get, son.
just some other creative offerings from
Yeah.
your favorite
Casket.
distillery.
Casket? No. My auntie would
Oh my
love
God.
that. Casket finished bourbon. Oh, she loves her gin.
I
She's
wanna
very
be-
like white lady. And like casket finished, she'd
I
fuck
want to
with
be
that all
casket.
day.
I need to be casket finished. That's the way I'm going out. I was
I
going to
wouldn't
be
mind-
cremated before. I'm going out casket finished now.
I wouldn't mind
That's-
getting finished
I mean,
in a casket, let me tell
What
you.
do you think, Lahannah?
Mm-hmm.
Go out casket finished.
I don't have a dark sense of humor, so
Oh,
I'm trying
I'm-
to stay right here.
Oh, I am going out casket finished.
Yeah, I'm like,
I
Yeah, who's joking? This isn't funny. We're serious as a heart attack. This is.
Really?
Pat, I ain't playing.
Cremated?
So how many gallons is a
No.
casket? So how many
So
gallons is a casket?
Well, according to our rough math, I don't know how many gallons would be in it, but a normal barrel full, 53-gallon barrel is going to weigh about 505 pounds.
Right?
it's like a
We-
regular Jeremy size.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we estimate that a casket full of whiskey would be more like 1,100 to 1,300 pounds.
Damn.
So there may be some issues. I mean, you can't have nails in it.
Yeah.
No.
You have to have sort of a similar type of structure as a barrel somehow.
Almost like tongue and groove. Then.
Yeah,
Yeah, tongue
but
groove is what he said
but
he
the
wanted
thing
to do.
is, we could, like, if there's any structural issues, we could always build it in place, fill it in place, and
Yeah.
empty
Age
it
it
in
in
place.
place,
That way
right.
we're not.
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, I had these dreams of like filling them and white gloving them into a hearse, and then taking them to the aging mausoleum,
Yeah.
and
my
then having like a
God.
ceremony.
I swear
We
to
can do
God,
that with the proto
if you
stuff.
don't
Yeah,
call me
yeah,
to
yeah.
get that video of all of that taking place, I'm going to be pissed.
I'm
to
flying
high
out
heavens.
for that.
I swear. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I
I
would be on the
actually,
lifting committee.
I
I'm going to
actually,
be a pallbearer.
White glove committee.
Yeah.
I want to be a pallbearer. I don't care how much that thing weighs.
Me and the TSA agent, mate, like white glove committee, we're ready to go.
well, I actually had a discussion with the lead singer of Slayer, and
Oh, of course.
to see
Of course.
if, to see if they were interested in having anything to do with it. I'm kind of envisioning, Lamb of God and Slayer, all these logos
Yes.
on the
The wilderness
coffins.
cartoon of Rockstar.
But he kind of was like, "Oh man, that's a screwed up idea."
Maybe-
So if lead
Dude,
singer
if
of
you're too
Slayer,
screwed up for Slayer,
then you know it's a great idea.
absolutely.
That's right. That's
awesome.
all I knew. That's
Why
all I
don't you
knew.
play with Metallica? Like Metallica's doing all their blackened stuff. I'm sure you could jump in there with that.
Well, I don't know. That's not a
Probably
bad
brand
idea,
crossover,
but
yeah.
Like they're already doing stuff. Like
Yours
it's not
were
like
written-
you have to.
if
well,
you're
the fact,
listening-
the fact that they didn't come to us first
Well,
shows,
fuck those
shows
guys.
me that,
Of course, he's
they,
put
they
off.
didn't do their homework.
Obviously, but
So I'm still a Metallica fan. Though,
yeah, I
will
get
say.
you. I get you.
So anyway.
So we're a bourbon show.
Since when? When did we become a bourbon show?
We're going to the rye whiskey segment right now. Actually.
Oh my God.
I'm like,
we're in a rye
I'm
whiskey
not
segment.
editing a single second of any of this.
I'm like,
I
we
swear.
switched up. I'm like, we were bourbon show for the first 2 bottles. Now we switched it up. We're ryes. We don't.
We are in the funeral business now.
Yeah.
No, we're in the opportunity business.
Yeah, we
Oh,
are.
Mac.
Yeah,
comes in
we
with the
are.
hitter.
First of all,
We're in the creativity business. We're in the ass kicking business. We're in the whiskey business. There's a lot of businesses.
Did you
that
say ass kicking or ass kissing?
we're in. Ass kicking.
As
I'm
kidding.
I'm in
we
the
do a little bit of
hospitality
ass
business, so unfortunately, my other
No.
personality is ass kissing.
Well, that's why
Well,
he gets
this one is
people
ass
in
kicking.
who
Hold
works
on.
for
Let
him.
me say this. Anytime Macaulay does a barrel pick and then loses that barrel before it gets bottled, we become an ass kissing. So
Okay.
hold on.
There's a
Well,
story there. Let's hear
That
this.
is choosing
Well,
violence today.
500-pound
Fire
barrels
shots.
just fall out of my back pocket somehow. sitting
Lost
in the
it.
bar
There's
store.
going to be a Netflix
Lost
documentary about this in a few years.
There might be an uproaring, so we need to edit that part out. for
Lost
sure.
Hey, I'm not saying that I might have a barrel at the house or anything, but that
We're not saying, but we're
I'm not
saying.
saying, but I mean,
Yeah.
I might load one into my suitcase.
Oh my
I'm already
gosh.
overweight, but
the
let's go.
Netflix. We just got a new Netflix series out of this.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I just said that like
And
30
you can't
seconds
call it
ago.
Heist.
Catch up.
You're way over there.
You
I'm
can't
sorry.
call
Oh
it
my
heist
God.
either.
Yeah, you can't call it. We could call it heist because
Because of like heist.
All right, so
we got it.
Oh, there we go. Bourbon
Max
Swami
trying to get us
keeping
back on
Max
line.
like,
Yeah,
off
okay.
of this
What a
conversation.
good human.
This is actually going to be the lowest proof of the night right here.
Well, it's good
so
because
this is
I think-
102 proof, so just calm the palate down a little bit. So rye
Go out.
whiskey is always my favorite of our lineup.
We're gonna
So
go
this
out
one is a
now.
56% rye, 33% corn, 11% malted barley.
I'll just dollop a little bit behind that my ears on
102.
that
Oh,
one.
nice. Oh, yeah. Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing?
It's
A little
like good.
bit of.
Stank. What's
So
proof
while
on
we're just talking about secrets and things,
I'm like, why
Oh
the
my
hell
God.
did you
we
do that?
are
it? Macaulay's got a secret. Macaulay's got a secret.
we're working on the first finishing project of
Oh,
all time.
that's right. We are.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, there we go. Run us through
We
it.
have brought the some masterminds from Massachusetts. My boy Ryan Maloney at Julio's came
Mhm.
down, did
Thank
some guidance work with me, and we picked out 3 rye whiskey barrels that we're going to make into a small batch. We're going to fill up 2 maple syrup barrels
Oh, fuck
that
yes.
had been aged in rye whiskey barrels from Wilderness Trail for 6 months. And then we're going to have a little small bottling of the OG small batch before. So we're going to just see how those come out. And then
I'm at
that's
about
gonna be
9
the-
didgeridoos at
that's
this point.
the that's the that's the
12.
first
12.
that's the
We're at
first that's the
We're
first
at 12
finishing
didgeridoos.
project right
Can we
there.
put scissor up on the label?
Ah, shit.
Oh my
I hope
I'm just
so.
asking.
We can
Seriously.
see what they can do.
Seriously.
There's a reason you hire
We'll
people to
see.
do this.
We'll
What?
see if they can say no. Like,
So when are we going to see like toasted barrels or anything like that coming on to WTD?
well, I'm getting my legs broke about those skews, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Where do you got too
Google
much
that.
sugar?
We're having a branding meeting and we're like calling them out, and I'm like, well, what about this and this
Mhm.
and
Well, we've just been
This
very
and,
careful. I think that for us, one thing that's very important, having 3 different mash recipes that
Yes.
again can be bottled 5 different ways
Right.
each. We've always been very careful about making sure we establish a really good baseline
Yeah.
on what we're making,
Agreed.
so that when we do decide to make a very calculated change, we can see what does that change do for us.
right.
Yeah.
If you don't even know what the baseline is on your product, it's hard to really say how is this finishing going to do. I mean, you can blindly do it,
Right.
but we're just trying to be very scientific and meticulous about it.
Well, that makes perfect sense because you got companies out there, and a lot of them are sourcers. Companies like Barrel, which have basically lost a brand identity other than the label on the bottle because they have so many different things that they're not known for any one thing. There's no profile
Well,
that goes across. the
I'll,
board.
I'll stand up for Barrel.
Yeah, I'll do that with you.
because
someone doesn't know
they,
branding.
Yeah.
well,
I'm like,
they,
shit,
those
I'm
guys do a great job. All their stuff is excellent, and in the market where we're in a lot of the same markets they are,
Mhm.
and they're pushing those bottles for double what ours
Sure.
are going for, and there's nobody complaining about it.
No,
Yeah.
and
So-
I'm not saying it's not
And
good.
they're buying that Canadian for the low and flipping it for the high.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, as far as a profile for what's in the bottle, there's not one thing you go to
Mhm.
for barrel. You know it's quality. You know it's good in the barrel or in the bottle, but it's not like, okay, I know what I'm getting out of knob cream.
Well, I mean,
Or-
like it's
or whatever.
like with Compass Box. I mean, with anything else,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
it's like you want something eclectic and you don't want to just pull off the same thing every time off the shelf.
Let's just
That's what you look
let's put
for.
it to a vote. Okay, Jeremy votes to shit on barrel bourbon.
Fuck you, Jeremy.
I didn't shit on barrel.
Who agrees
No,
not to
I
shit
did
on
not.
it?
Yeah,
I agree
fuck
not to
yeah.
shit
We
on.
got a quorum over here. Thank you, Barrel.
I-
Honest to
did.
goodness,
I
Jeremy,
love you, Barrel.
I'm not easily
You got something in
impressed.
the care
Like,
package. I love
a
you.
whi-
Send me
I'll
cigarettes.
drink whiskey and I'm like,
Cigarettes,
oh, this is
21.
really
I should
good.
brought you over a
But
fucking
their
case.
dovetail one,
Well,
Make sure
the
it's
first time I ever
Yeah.
had dovetail, I was like, holy shit. And then the second time I had it, I was like, holy shit. And the third time, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I was
So-
second, number
I'm a
two.
barrel fan.
Number two.
Oh,
in
now
our
he's going to
whiskey of the year-
backtrack. Now he's going to backtrack.
Number two in our whiskey of the year was Barrel Seagrass. So
No
I don't want to
backtracking.
hear it. So
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's not quality. I'm
I'm
saying
just
Taking it
saying,
that
it's
there is a
not.
brand identity across the
But you-
bottles.
So, like,
I'm gonna send you branding.
Maybe they
101
just want something for
textbook when I
everybody.
get home.
So he did reverse shit just then.
Yeah.
So he shit on him. Now he's eating his words and he's
Jeremy,
back
just
to a
jump on
fan.
board.
Yeah.
We're all fans. Okay, guys,
Glad I could have turned
what do
that
you all
around.
think about this? I have some very specific opinions, and I want to know y'all's first.
I drank all mine.
Okay.
I didn't even.
I have some specifics. I can't speak. Some specific
Some
ones,
Mississippi's.
but I'd like to hear y'all's first.
all right, so
She wants
like-
to copy our answers.
Oh, no, I'm not copying your answers. I'm just not going to be a Jeremy and be an asshole and then revert it. But really, I'm not
Oh
being an
my
asshole
God.
because
I thought you
I
were
really
talking about
love
me for a
it.
second.
No, the other one. And Wilderness
I love
Trail
you.
Rye is one of my all-time go-tos. So I just have specific opinions, and I want to.
I'll
Fill
go.
y'all out.
I'll go first. This rye here, I like it, but I can say that it's a little bit off profile.
yeah.
It
from
is.
what our rye normally
he's good.
is.
So are
He's
you
good.
telling me?
You know, it's single barrel
Yes.
barrel strength.
So
Yeah.
are you telling me that your brand has a specific profile for a mash bill that should be consistent from one to the next, which is the point I was making about
Oh,
barrel
we're not
bourbon.
going back to that.
No,
You're
no,
wrong.
that's not
No,
what I'm
you
saying
lost.
at all.
I'm out.
No.
I'm out.
No.
Keep sending me more shit, Barrel. I love you.
What I'm saying is there is kind of a like an
A wheelhouse.
average flavor that you get. Like if you taste
Wheelhouse.
9 different single barrels
Right.
of
Yeah.
the rye,
Yeah.
you're going to get a certain
They're
profile
pretty
for the
similar.
majority of those.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you're going to have some that are. Now, I'm not saying it's bad.
It's not.
It's just not characteristic.
Mhm.
But that's fine because it's a single barrel strength.
But-
That's the
I
idea.
like it.
Question for
Absolutely.
you and Macaulay,
And we
Pat.
don't try to pick barrels that all taste the same. What the hell's the point of that?
Right,
We're going to do a
agreed.
single barrel release.
You're better off
Agreed.
doing a small batch.
That's right.
Okay, so typically, doesn't your all's rye run a little bit higher proof than 102? Is that
Yes.
on the low end?
Yes.
Because anytime I see it, it's anywhere from like 109 to 114.
That's
like
one
that's
of
the
them.
range. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And the reason for that, unless you've got something else to say.
No, keep going.
Okay, so the reason for
Muscles
that,
are
whenever
down.
we first started the distillery, we barreled at 100 proof and we
Okay.
barreled at 110.
Okay.
So if you get a rye whiskey that is anywhere around 100, that would have been one that was barreled at the lower proof. Now, I've seen some that are lower than 100 proof. And so
Yeah.
people are like, holy shit, how in the hell did it go from 100 down to 96 point whatever?
Yeah.
Right.
Whenever we first started the distillery, if you receive a whole truckload of barrels and it takes you months to use those barrels, you got to be concerned that they're going to leak. And so
Yeah.
what we would do in the morning is we'd steal some of our hot water out of our cooker vessel that we're getting ready to mash in, and we'd put it in the barrels, do a leak check.
Mm.
Well, you've just imbibed all that
Yeah.
water in there. Then we go in at 100 proof.
Yeah.
Hell, it probably was 94 proof.
Right.
And then evaporative loss occurred, and it never even hit 100.
so
No, I love it though. This
when
is
I first
great.
taste
But the-
this,
Oh.
it's like dill. Not like an
Mhm.
overwhelming amount, just a touch.
What
it
does
is
dill
not.
taste like to you, man?
It tastes like fucking dill.
I don't know what that
I'm getting a
tastes
heap
like,
of
though.
pine and like lime. That's what
But
I'm
it's
getting.
just like
Oh,
a
I like
very
that
faint
lime.
amount at
Yeah.
the beginning, but then
Yeah.
it
Plenty of
kind of
lime.
changes
Lime.
into like a bit
Yeah.
of like minty on the back end, like
Yeah,
your
like-
back.
And not dill pickle, like dill the herb.
Yeah,
That's-
no,
that
not
was
dill
my
pickle.
question.
This is not
Yeah, I
a
was waiting
pickleback,
for-
like
for
the
it to
herb
answer.
dill.
There we
I see
go.
that.
Just a touch of it, but I'm like, I mean, ryes bring out a lot more herbal flavors, and
yeah,
that's just what I
100%.
get at the front.
Honestly, like
Perfect for the shaman.
these barrels that I picked out of the Sweet Mash Disruptor series, I usually pick them in pairs, and I try to pick them on the eclectic fringes of them, just to showcase what can be out of our wheelhouse of flavors. Like, not what your standard small batch is, not what your standard product is going to be off the shelf. So that's been kind of some of my guidance on that. And sometimes it's gotten me into trouble as well too. I mean, sometimes I like the funky ones.
Well, and
that's
the
the
thing is,
experience.
whenever you're laying out several barrels for somebody to do a barrel pick, you don't want them all to taste the same.
Right,
I mean,
of course, right.
And every now and then, even if there's a barrel that we think is like, I mean, off profile is one thing, but kind of off spec or off. I mean, because there are things that can occur in the water that really make things funky. We could have a little bacterial contamination in a fermenter that makes it a little more funky. It's still great whiskey, but we'll throw those in as kind of outliers, and a lot of times people pick them, because they're not looking. I mean, hell, if you just want the normal rye, go to the store.
Just get the normal rye.
Yeah, you better find a case.
Yeah. But if you're wanting to do a barrel pick and you want something that's a little bit different and nuanced, you a lot of times go for those.
Especially like people's. Sorry to cut you off because I'm extremely rude
No,
as an
no,
Australian.
no.
But like, if you're going even off like profile, people might like that for their like palates, and then they're like, my audience will enjoy that, and they'll move a case twice as quick as what they would like something that's like normal profile, and they're like, it doesn't like that dill flavor, but if you're playing around with like pine limes and like, I don't know, pine trees, everything else, apple tea cakes, and like if you fuck with a lot of apple tea cakes, like go nuts. Like I'm I'd buy a case of that.
If you're sitting around a campfire and you have the aroma from the forest or some nearby pine trees, or whatever, it puts you into a mood.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. You got it. That's how we play.
So glad that's not a trademark term.
No, like we have to throw that around. Like I'm Australian. You can find Australian here. You can say whatever you want. Like talk shit about Vegemite, didgeridoo.
I fucking play the didgeridoo though. There was no one talking shit about that. That is a legitimate fact.
So we're not going to boomerang back to the beginning here, are we?
I mean, if
we go another round, let's go.
Like you're not live anymore.
Hopefully you got that.
I got it. Don't worry. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
That's too awesome.
I'm enjoying all these Australian references though. Like I'm sure because 80% of my audience is American, so you guys are like appealing to the 20% of my audience.
Oh, well, damn.
Nice.
I'm like, I know my stats. It's okay. I got you.
So we've got a pink label out, which we don't have right now. That's the 4 grain.
You don't have it?
I don't.
What do you mean we? I'm like, you don't own anything in the company. You're always there every fucking weekend, but you're not like, you don't own shit.
On the weekend, we come out with the 250 bottles. He's like, I didn't make it out there that weekend. It's for charity, for Christ's sake.
Well, so we've got the pink bottle, the 4 grain. So tell us the story about that.
When we say we, you mean like I got
like,
Jeremy's got some. You ain't got shit.
Okay, what were you saying about
you?
I got a mouse in my pocket.
One-eyed trouser mouth.
Yeah, that 8 inches is working for you fine. No worries.
8. You heard it here, folks.
Don't finish that sentence.
I'm gonna post this up as soon as I get back to my place.
Oh
That's
my
how.
God.
I was talking about your personality.
Of course.
Macaulay.
Do we want to take a moment to recognize our sponsors?
Sponsors.
Fuck you,
Penthouse, Hustler, and what?
OnlyFans.
And thank you to the Bourbon Swami's Peep Show.
Well, where is Nicole and Bo? Nicole, we want to
wait.
give you guys full credit.
They're one of
Oh my
these.
God.
You know what? I'm glad we featured Wilderness Trail here.
It's all good.
Okay. Well, Pat, give us a rundown on your 4 grain, because we know that came out as basically like a single barrel. That you guys had project
Yeah.
on.
So,
give us a rundown of what the deal there was.
Well, one day we were running our wheat at bourbon, so we got our corn in, we got half our wheat in, and we ran out of wheat. And so we decided to finish up the other half with rye and then put malted barley in there.
4 grain.
So that's
All
4
right.
grain. So that shows the sophistication of how some mash bills are generated.
Oh shit.
And that's why we only made 1 barrel of it, because we got wheat in the next day and we started running our normal shit. So that's the story on that. And so we ended up releasing that as a charity barrel because it was very rare and it was 6 years old. and we sold it for it was 250
yeah.
a bottle, and all
Yeah.
that went to charity.
Yep.
So.
Jeremy, have you had it yet?
I tasted it
it's
out
good.
there. at
I
the
was just going to
distillery.
tell you it's really good. in
Yeah,
case
oh,
you're done.
it
is.
Just
Mm.
It's
wanted to say
incredible.
hey over there.
Yeah,
I blessed him down earlier.
Yeah.
So
I went to
now
whiskey
fr-
church and shit, and I was like, woo!
Mhm.
Getting blessed today.
So in the
Hallelujah.
newsletter you talked about that may be a future release down the road. As far
Yeah,
as
we've started
long-term.
making 4 grain again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but I think our oldest is only 2 to 3 years old now.
So we've got a year and a half ish.
Yeah,
to wait.
yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna push it at 6,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because like I'm like
6 year
Oh, yeah.
4 grain.
Those-
It's super good.
6
Yeah.
years is a magical number. On the
Yeah,
side.
like-
Six
I
years.
feel
oh,
like.
Yeah.
And
Well, you're
that's-
exactly right.
Mhm.
like me from like a alcoholic perspective, like all your stuff, I liked it. I was like when I was tasting everything earlier, I was getting a lot of the white dog because I shot it
grain.
like and it was
Is
like
that
super-
like one of them apple tea cakes? I don't know what that
He
means.
done said apple
no.
tea cakes.
I was like when I was tasting the 4-year stuff, I was like
high wines, Macaulay. High wines.
yeah, sorry. High wines. I was like, when I was going through everything earlier, I was like, yeah, I'm getting a lot of this, like this grain forward stuff. And I'm like, it's good. I'm like, I just want like less of the grain because I'm used to drinking that 5-year that like we got in Australia. And it's like, it's different. I was like, okay, it takes a little bit to get used to. And then when I tried that 6-year and I was like, this shit
Boom.
slaps.
Yep.
And I'm like, y'all need to release that
Y'all.
6-year. I'm like, I'm
Dropping
You've been in
hillbilly
Kentucky
words.
for how
there you
long?
go.
And you done said y'all?
no,
We'll convert him.
No, flip it. I'm like, I've been drinking bourbon since I was 16.
Y'all.
You
Y'all.
own the word.
And I'm like,Ve been producing content since I was like, what, 20, I don't know, whatever. And like,
So in other words, for like 2 years.
How
How old are you?
I'm like,
Check this guy's
You
ID.
have
I'm like,
chosen
wait,
life.
wait.
Hey,
Lahannah.
don't be getting personal now.
Lahannah didn't check my ID when I came in.
I don't know,
So
how
if
old
anything,
are you?
no, I'm not
You gotta
telling
throw
you.
that out there.
No,
Well,
I'm
the
not.
I
good
just want to
news.
see if you're the baby of the group, because typically I am.
Oh, he's definitely the baby.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah, he is.
Well,
You
oh,
already-
are you?
This
Got it
bourbon's
out.
older than me, so
How old are you?
27.
Oh, yeah, you're the baby.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I'm 28, so.
Oh,
I'm the
really?
baby, yeah.
My marriage is
Shit.
almost older than you.
Shit, we're not going to talk about that.
Well, I tell you what, this has been a tour de force for Wilderness Trail.
Yeah, this
has been phenomenal.
This is definitely an
Honest
upgrade
to
from your
goodness.
first video, second video, really.
In Copper and Oak, like, everybody's like, what's your fave? What do you recommend? And I tell them all the time, like, we're biased because, like, we love Pat and Shane. But if you look, and Macaulay, sorry.
Yeah.
And Haley, and Jared,
No,
got you over here.
and
We got
Riley,
you.
and
Now, to be fair, they probably throw Pat and Shane out of here less than they do Macaulay. But,
I don't know about that.
Anyway,
I've got
that's,
some stories. I've got some stories on
well,
that
depends
too.
on the day. No, just kidding.
Mhm.
But I tell everyone, yes, we are biased, but we clearly aren't the only ones. Like,
Yeah.
if you look across Wilderness for the past 2 to 3 years, well, especially the past 2 years, has been like up and coming, rising in the whiskey world. So it's not just us.
Right.
And so it's a solid product all the way around. This is one of my absolute go-tos, especially this cast strength. Jeremy, I'm taking this home.
Yep.
So
Look the other way.
Well, I tell you what.
I want to take that one.
What
home.
we loved was
Shit.
what, about a year and a half ago, Minnick did his tasting. We were mid-Rona. We don't say the C word, but we were mid-Rona. He did his
Corona, I love
Shit,
that
I was
beer.
going to throw the other
Sorry.
one out.
So he did that whole
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
12.
4-liter.
Yeah, this
12
Australian in me
blind
came out. I was like,
What's
shit.
that one?
I
I
remember
can't say
the 12
really fucking
wine.
bleach.
He did the 12 blind tasting.
We were in
and-
here
Put this
watching
way,
it
we're
like
on
it was
the
a horse
hunt
race.
for the other word that starts with the C. But let's not do that.
Oh,
We're all trying to sit here and trying to be cunny funts, but it's not.
Mm.
y'all have drank too much for this to be productive.
Oh, I've been
anymore.
drinking since 10 a.m. I was in
Wrap
Heaven Hill this
it
morning
up.
doing barrel proofs, and I'm like, whoa! Let's go.
Nice.
Inside voices. Inside voices.
So
I'm the mom of
so
it.
so
Sorry,
Minnick
I
had
got
you
you.
guys in his
Here,
tasting
Mommy.
like about a year and a half ago, with like 12 other whiskeys, and you guys second
I'm
I
not
think
pulling
out of that
myself
whole
into
list.
this.
I want to say
Yeah,
that
look,
was. They did get
That's
second
$6.
place that one.
No,
I think it
you're,
was 6.
you're better off pouring me because I am, like,
Bro.
I'll go heavy.
Yeah, we
I gotta
Okay, well,
drive.
since they got
we do
distracted, Jeremy was
standard,
talking
not
about
metric
like in the midst of COVID
Yeah,
when
you'd be sleeping
it was
on the
in like the
couch.
$30 to $40 range, so on and so forth
Right.
of the
Also, at this
whiskeys,
point,
and they rated them. And I think it was the Wilderness Trail. It was the high rye mash bill,
Mhm.
the high rye bourbon that came in second place in that one. And it was Fred Minnick did them all in blinds, and he had them labeled like A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. And it was really cool. He put them all up against each other, and I want to say that one was second place.
I think it was
that was
second.
almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was amazing, and that's what I'm saying, that obviously here at Copper and Oak, we're not super biased, because if people like Fred
Well,
are
you
saying
guys
it,
got 50 or 70 different.
we
bourbons
do.
here.
I mean,
Small
and we promote
Small
all
collection.
distilleries
It's a
around.
petite
It
collection.
just,
Quarter of the
it
amount
makes
that's in my
sense for us,
house.
especially here. Shop local. We're in Danville. Y'all are 6 miles from
Mhm.
us.
Support your locals.
That's
Tip your
right.
bartenders.
Yeah.
I always
Well,
tell
we-
everyone
which
Pat looks like a
actually,
hitchhiker.
Well, that's a fact. I mean, that brings me to another good point: is we actually use almost exclusively local grains to make
Right.
our products. So
Right.
when you look at sustainability, carbon footprint, these kind of
Mm.
things are becoming more and more important over the years. And so, our grains are, for the most part, being, transported 5-10 miles rather than coming from another state. And, most bourbon distilleries here in Kentucky may use rye in their recipe. We're one of only a couple distilleries in this state that use Kentucky grown rye.
Well, I did notice that you guys are Kentucky proud, which is good,
Mhm.
and that's only
Oh, yeah.
something I've recently discovered.
Yep.
I don't know. Actually, I can't remember whose bottle it was that I was drinking, but I was like Kentucky proud, and they're really pushing it.
Mhm.
It could have been yours. Like,
Well, that just means that we try to use any vendors that we use
Mm.
for anything. I mean,
Yeah.
people that mow the grass at the distillery, which actually was me up until about a year and a half ago.
You look like a grass
I've mowed a lot of grass and done a lot of other things.
maybe that was all my marriage.
That double
fault, like,
entendre.
I'm gonna cut my grass.
The,
Yeah.
the double entendre hangs over the.
I was like, there's so
That's right.
many ways we can go with that. I'm like, oh shit.
Let's
Grass,
not.
grass, or gas.
Yeah,
That's right. For
Damn! Cheers to
Oh
that.
my God, I
Don't
cannot
need
be
no
the
money
only girl of
around
the group
your
any
ass.
longer. I'm the only girl of the group, and y'all are just on a whole nother level.
Tell us the story. of how
I
you
should have
burnt
taken
your
you to
arm.
heaven.
Tell us the story of how I burned my arm, because though Jeremy James says I do not work,
Oh shit!
I was working, and we had
Allegedly.
Vape-
allegedly I
vape
was
get a little
clocked
hot.
in.
The vape
Yeah, you were
She
overheated.
was clocked in. Got hit with a skillet.
The vape overheated.
I lifted my arm, and there was a heat lamp, and then I cried like a baby. Just kidding, but it didn't hurt.
Burned it on a heat lamp.
Yeah, that one right over there.
A heat lamp.
Were you
You're
raising a
pointing to Jeremy's
toaster?
So you were
life.
near the kitchen.
Ask anybody, ask Bo Cacciatore. I can flip some burgers. If you've eaten in Copper and Oak in the past 2 months, it's highly likely I cooked some of your food.
And that's probably why that's
Yeah,
Macaulay?
we'll just cut that section out for legal purposes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they went from
Turn
an
it
A to a
off.
C
Turn it
minus.
off.
Like, shit.
Hold on a minute.
The lawyers.
Oh yeah, that was
Is
what
that
was
the
on my
hair?
plate.
Is that the hair?
Yeah, the lawyers have stepped in now and completely cut the section out.
Happens to the best of us, guys. All right, are we
Jeremy
wrapping up?
James' X-rated
Oh,
show tonight.
hey, that's a whole different YouTube channel, Macaulay. I beg your pardon.
Jeremy James only fans.
That is a
Get
paid
tased
subscription.
outside the field. Don't forget.
That's a paid
Except for
subscription.
Harambe.
$15.99 a month for that stuff.
Guys, Barstools and Bourbon was so much fun this week.
So in the name
I'm
of
glad you-
class and
When did
retaining
class come in?
our
In closing,
reputation,
thank
maybe
you.
we should wrap up this episode.
Here it goes. Thank you. We are here at Copper and Oak. I'm Lahannah, the Bourbon Princess. We have featured the amazing Wilderness Trail Distillery. From Wilderness Trail Distillery, we had not the homeless, Dr.
homeless.
Patrick Heist here, the Bourbon Swami, Macaulay Minton. We have Jeremy from Whiskefy over in Australia, and
Oh yeah.
the Bourbon Realtor, Jeremy James. I wrapped it up all on my own because I'm not on their level. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank y'all
God
for
bless.
tuning in.
Drink
Love
up.
y'all.
Don't pay too much for whiskey.
Yeah, cheers to
Yeah.
that. And drink Wilderness Trail. Tip your bartenders. Support your locals. I got nothing else to say, but cheers.
Cheers.
Enjoy, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Get in there. There we go. That looked messy as hell, but I love y'all. Stay thirsty.